Good afternoon, morning, evening, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, and welcome to Raw Chatter. This is a podcast all about reinvention, stories of women, raw and real, about their life, their challenges, and how they are helping high performers to step into their best selves. I have got an amazing female with me today. She is a lady who actually I was introduced to by somebody else through networking online. We jumped on a conversation last week, and I just adore everything she stands for, everything that she has achieved, and just the way that she explains why she does what she does is going to, I think, blow you away, but also equally inspire you to start taking action and step into being the female that you can become, because Shatoya is a queen of mastery. Shatoya, thank you so much for being my guest. The floor is yours. Tell people who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Thank you for that intro. So beautiful. Hi, everyone. I'm Shatoya Jones-Medor. I am a disciple, first and foremost, disciple of Christ. I am the #1 feminine leadership consultant and influence impact strategist. In short, that just means I give executive advisory services to high achieving, high performing women to disrupt toxic and identity leadership conditioning so that you can do more of what you know you're called to do. You know you're not meant to just get by every day. You know you're not just meant to survive. And so my goal is to help you acknowledge, become aware of the toxic and identity conditioning that women have been under for 400 centuries, undo that, and then help you step into your true feminine authority, kingdom woman authority power so that you can lead, impact, and influence without compromising your core values, your well-being, or your femininity in the process. And yes, I am queen of self-mastery as well.
I absolutely love it. And what I would love people to actually know about you is that you have kind of gone through multiple reinventions, if you like, haven't you? One of the things, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this, that Shatoya shared with me when we first had our conversation, is that many people don't necessarily take Shatoya seriously because she looks quite young. And I think you'll agree, she's absolutely stunning and gorgeous. But she's older than you think, and therefore a lot wiser and more accomplished in terms of just the world and how people function in it than anybody gives her credit for. And I think this is why you're outstanding at what you do. So can you help people to just, because this is mind-blowing, let people know just what you have actually accomplished and the very different roles that you've had that have now led you to yet another different role?
Yes. Oh my God. Okay. I'm going to try to keep this brief. This is the part that I have not mastered quite yet, which is telling my story in a very concise way so that you also understand the depth of it. So, yes, I do not look my age. Thank you, Jesus. I also understand that I have a youthful, vibrant energy as well. I don't look weighed down by life or by my experiences. Most people assume I haven't been through much of anything because of the energy that I carry. But that's the power of femininity and feminine grace, right? That's the power of the Holy Spirit, because I am a woman of biblical faith. And so from the beginning, I will tell you, I started my first business at 8 years old. I have been babysitting for all of my life. So motherhood came very naturally to me. It was something I loved to do. I would babysit my mother's friends' children while they would go out. And even though I didn't get the money for it, my mom got the money for it, but it did teach a lot of responsibility. It taught patience, because dealing with children, especially children that are not yours, requires different methods of discipline that you cannot exactly use if they were your children. So you have to be creative in how you deal with tantrums and problem solving, different personalities, different parenting styles. Moving forward from that, I sold snacks out of the house. So we would always throw away snacks in my house that we wouldn't eat. My mom would buy these Debbie cakes that nobody liked. And so I took them to school, elementary school, and I would sell them for, I think it was like 50. That's how long ago it was, like 50 cents. And then I would charge a quarter because I grew up in poverty. So I knew everyone didn't have the money up front. So I would charge a quarter every day that they couldn't pay me. And that's where I made the most of my money.
Incredible. Love it.
And I used that money to pay for leadership programming, scholarship, all the things that other kids had access to that were slightly more privileged that I didn't. I paid so that I could go to college out of state debt free. College, I worked 3 full-time jobs. I was a global literacy mentor. I worked in a global literacy program in Costa Rica. I worked also in a dining hall. So I was also in the back washing dishes. And I did that for maybe 6 months. I couldn't do that for too long, but it paid the bills in addition to the other 2 things I was doing as a consultant and as a mentor. From there, I also was doing Bible study and ministry work. I played violin for one of the local churches for worship and ministry. I still do play violin. Moving from that, I worked as a waitress for a Christian-owned ministry. So I knew these individuals from my time in college. They were Adventists, and they also taught me about the health message in the Bible that coming from the South, we tend to ignore. It's blasphemous almost to discuss health.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yes, if you haven't looked at our Southern dishes, especially in the African American community, we do not want to talk about vegan mac and cheese. We do not want to hear about alternatives to fried chicken. I mean, we'll do baked chicken, broiled chicken, but still, we want our oils and our spices and all the extra goodness. In our greens, we don't want just greens. We want to add all the extra goodness. So I learned about the health message in the Bible with Adventists, and I also worked in their cafe. It's called Post Cafe in Massachusetts, and they are an all vegan cafe. You got groceries, cheesecakes, etc. And I noticed at that time I was very good at hosting. And I was very good at getting tips because just my personality, hospitality. So my Southern hospitality, naturally serving people, the warmth, the vibrant, the grace. And also just, I mean, my African genes came through as well.
It helps without a shadow of a doubt.
For sure. I'm not going to deny that. And so that I knew I enjoyed serving people. I knew I was very good with that. I knew I was meant to serve women. I just didn't have the position in life to do that fully. So I took on a lot of odd jobs, professional cuddling. Yes, you heard me right. Professional cuddling. I have done.
Everybody's going to be thinking, what exactly does that mean? Is it code for something? I think you better explain that one.
It's exactly what it sounds like. And we can get into that another time because I know we're a little short on time. So feel free to ask me for part 2 so we can break down all these little odd jobs that I've done. But I have never compromised my core values, my well-being, or my femininity in anything. And so that's also usually where people get a bit curious about, okay,
sure.
how did you do that? Yeah. I have worked as an operations manager. My first job as a manager in a supervisor role was from a conversation with the boss. So I was going on this rant with some of the employees in a co-working space I had partnered with. And at this time, I had a poverty reduction wealth education organization, which I still have. It's a part-time. So I also was teaching financial literacy, wealth education. I was doing poverty reduction research because at the time there was 2.5 million NGOs, nonprofit government organizations. And my question was, why is poverty increasing in this country?
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. And there's new resources still being developed, and yet poverty is still going up. And so I started teaching financial literacy based on what I knew. I started partnering with financial advisors in the community. And then I built this wealth education broker. So we went from poverty to wealth education because we were attracting people who wanted help, but didn't have the mindset to invest in themselves. And you can't build a financial sustainable company trying to do charity work. No. And so, and I tried it, y'all. Take my word for it. Just take my word for it. So, so it transformed into a wealth education brokerage. This is where it took off. We had chapters all over the world, and I'm looking to reignite it this year with independent consultants, and so that it continues to be hands off, but it's growing. And we won an American Rescue Plan Award from Massachusetts and Connecticut, and then nationally. And then we published our research in a 5-stage to building generational wealth framework. So all the research that I had done in the field on the ground, I published that into a workbook. And that is the foundation for the poverty reduction and wealth education program.
Amazing. I was going to stop you there because I want to just go back a little.
There's so much. There's so many.
Let's just dive a little bit into, because a lot of what you're sharing is around your understanding of how humans work,
Yes.
understanding their culture and their environment. And as you said,
Yes.
you had a really good foundation with the babysitting of recognizing that all personalities are not the same, and how you deal with one situation with one person is not necessarily going to work with another. But what was it that you actually did study at college? Because you've studied numerous things, and was it numbers and finance and business and operations that really kind of floated your boat?
No, it was. So I originally went for psychology, Spanish, theater, and dance. That's what I started with.
Right.
Psychology, because I knew I wanted to help people.
Yeah.
And I felt that psychology, becoming a psychologist, listening to people's problems, giving advice, but getting paid for it, and not unsolicited as I was used to, was the route to go. And theater and dance, because I love performance arts. I love movement. I love dance. It's been a part of my journey to express myself. So I grew up in a very unfortunate situation, and movement was my therapy. It was my stress reliever. It was my way to express myself, because I also didn't talk much either. And then there was Spanish, just learning another language. For whatever reason, I took to Spanish in middle school and high school. And so I thought it would be great to just continue that and have that as an extra skill, especially because I wanted to travel to Costa Rica, which I did my sophomore year. So
makes sense.
Yes, but I did not end up with that. I changed many times.
Yeah. And of course, you got drawn into then seeing where there were gaps and where your skill set could come in and fill the gap. And the other question I wanted to ask you was about, you said we. So I'm assuming that along your journey, you can't do this stuff alone, can you? So you've got some supporters, you've got teams. Were you collaborating with people, or were these all people that you'd met via the church and that connection? Just help people to understand how you kind of managed to get involved in all of these different things.
What's interesting is those individuals I met outside of the church. So I was always in the community, attending networking events, attending charity events, attending volunteer events. And I will always meet people, and either they're telling me their trauma, their fears, and I am processing it and giving unsolicited, but technically it was solicited advice. Technically it was solicited advice, and then realizing I should turn that into a consulting company. Or it was, here's what I do. I really love what you're doing. How can we work together or get involved? Or I would ask that question. So it was actually in the community more so than the church, which that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, no, this is brilliant. And the reason that I'm asking is because there's so many people who want to start businesses, or they're in a business and they feel that they're either stuck or stale or not able to move. And what I'm hearing you share very, very clearly is that you made sure that you put yourself out there and you got involved with what was going on. You weren't just sitting behind a computer and staying quiet and just typing stuff. You were actually talking and conversing and putting yourself out there and showing up. And I think people need to hear that, because you put in the effort. And that's why you managed to then make the connections and the collaborations that you have done.
And I didn't allow the fear of rejection. I think people are so afraid of being told no, that they just don't do it. Or there's the social norms that I think that also gives me an advantage. I have never, in all of my life, I have actively fought against social normity, because I never fit with the social norms. Even right now, as a feminine leadership exec, I'm not the typical leadership consultant or executive advisor. I don't carry myself like one. I'm not stuffy. I'm not trying to sound smarter than I actually am, or talk about things I don't actually know. And I'm very honest, and I'm human. That's what it is. I am human. I bring my humanness to just about almost, I think, every situation, including business. And I think with the age of technology, people want to connect with humans more and more. They don't want to connect with someone who's putting on a mask. We got to deal with that already, especially if you're in a corporate space. They want to connect with people who truly see them, who are okay with being seen, and then truly want to help, not just themselves, but truly serve other people and find that mutual balance. I think that's what's missing today. Everyone's in this rat race to survive, and to, unfortunately, depend on your culture and your country. Some countries were built on the exploitation of human beings. And unfortunately, that's just how you see how you're going to succeed and move up the ladder. We can't succeed together. One of us has to be at the bottom. Yeah. And I don't believe in that.
Right. And this is again where I loved our conversation, because so many things in my story and your story resonated, but also your ethos and your values, but you're living them. And this is, people say one thing, but they do another. And this is not what we get with Shatoya. Now,
Yeah.
what I also want to kind of share is that you have a hubby. And
Yes.
obviously people can see somebody is attached to you. So he's not, how old is he? Oh, he's gorgeous.
He is 1 year, but I do count the 9 months culturally. But
Right,
based
cool.
on the pediatric system in this country, he is 1 year old.
Fantastic. And this is again a whole new chapter for you, but I feel, and I think you shared it when we had a conversation, you just feel so natural for you. You knew that you wanted to be a mom. But has it changed in any way now, your mission, your drive, and what you want to do moving forward?
No, it has actually. So, okay, another non-traditional. I do not believe homemakers are any less important than career women. In fact, I believe they are utmost important because they create the environment for the people that are going to go out into the world and become our leaders and the people that we associate with. All the people we complain about, well, we have a hand
Yeah.
in bringing them into the world, right? So it's my belief that homemaking is my first and primary ministry. My child, my home, and creating that peace and environment. And actually, I was in court the other day, and there was an insinuation that if you prioritize caregiving, and this is also because we're in a Western country, but if you prioritize caregiving, you don't want to work. As if caregiving is not the most demanding work out there. But it also explains why my work is so important, because this mindset still pervades. At first, it was homemaking for a lot of women, but we also got to talk about cultures too, because it was very different. In my culture, we've always made the home, built businesses, cared for kids, our kids, other people's kids. That's part of our culture.
Yeah.
But you do have, on one hand, mainstream culture where it was homemaking. That's the goal. Then it was career woman, because homemaking is oppressive. And then it was, well, now you're unhappy in your career, you're unfulfilled. So instead of saying that, you actually bash the women who find fulfillment in home and caregiving, because they honor themselves in their desires as women, not machines.
Yeah.
And so for me, it is very important, super, super important, that we understand that this right here is the most important thing I could possibly do. Everything else on top of that is important, and it's wonderful work, especially regarding women, because I'm helping the life givers give more life and lead, influence, and take positions of power in the world so we can create the world we want to see. Important, powerful work, yes. But this is the most important work I will ever do, and it is 24/7, unlike a job, and it is very demanding.
Yeah.
But it is also lovely.
And I think you are somebody who just knows that it's what you always wanted.
Yes.
And that in and of itself just shines from you. So if people are loving what they have heard, and by the way, if you are enjoying what you've heard, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us a subscribe. And if you have found that you know that somebody needs to listen to this, give them the links. But if people want to know, where is this lady? Where is she hanging out? How can I find out more about the Kingdom Women's Institution that you have set up and all of the amazing work that you are doing? Tell people where they can go to find out more about you.
You can connect with me by email at Shatoya, hello Shatoya at gmail.com. SHATOYIA, hello Shatoya at gmail.com. You can go to my official website at www.shatoyajones.com. I have a mini course up, and I am helping you turn your presence into the opportunities, relationships, and impact income that you desire without compromising your core values, well-being, or femininity. It is currently 80% off, so go register if you want to learn more. And also LinkedIn. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I do have Instagram and Facebook, but you won't get too much of a response from me there. So
LinkedIn.
email,
Yeah.
official website, LinkedIn, or YouTube.
Fantastic. And folks, if you're panicking with pen and paper and going, I didn't get that down, all of the links will be in the show notes if you are listening on Apple or Spotify, and they will be in the description if you are watching us on YouTube. Shatoya, I want to say thank you so much. There will no doubt be a part 2 as we delve a little bit more into the current work that you are doing now. And I just want to say thank you for being a wonderful, inspiring human. Keep doing what you are doing. And for those of you who are listening, please remember, we only have one life, as far as we know, and one body. So please look after it, because it is looking after you. Until next time, be kind to yourselves.
Shatoya, Happy International Women's Month.
Thank you, folks. Bye-bye.